Mistakes in Peppa Pig seem to be never-ending. But these tiny mistakes are also what make Peppa Pig such a fun show. And in today's video, we're going to show you some of the mistakes that we found in Peppa Pig. Like in the episode Windmills, we can see Peppa and her classmates making a paper windmill. Everyone has different colored paper. And if we look at Susie Sheep's paper, we notice that it is cyan colored. Now look carefully. When everyone makes their paper windmill and runs outside the classroom, we can notice that Susie Sheep's windmill is dark blue. But earlier, we saw her paper was cyan colored. And that's not all. When all of the students arrive at the site where Mr. Bull is building an actual windmill, we can notice that Susie's paper windmill is now green colored. Maybe Susie Sheep has got a magical color changing paper. Moving on, in the episode Thunderstorm, we noticed a funny error. Here, Peppa and George are playing in the garden when they hear thunder. Peppa and George get a bit frightened and go running inside the house. But when they all get inside the house, Peppa realizes that she has left her teddy bear in the garden. Now look carefully. We can see there's a teddy bear lying on the ground. And if we notice the background, there's nothing. But when Daddy Pig goes to get the teddy, we can notice a tree in the background. The tree basically appeared out of nowhere. In the episode Pancakes, Mummy Pig is making everyone pancakes. The whole pig family is sitting in Mummy Pig's magical kitchen. If you have watched our previous era videos, then you would know that Mummy Pig's kitchen is magical because things appear and disappear from thin air in there. So, here we can see that Mummy Pig is preparing ingredients for pancakes. Let's look at the milk jug. As we can see, it is filled slightly above the handle. But after Mummy Pig pours the milk into the flour mix, we can notice that the milk is still at the same level as before. It seems like Mummy Pig has found an infinite milk glitch. In the episode Grampy Rabbit's Lighthouse, Grandad Dog takes Peppa Pig, George Pig, and Danny Dog to visit and learn more about Grampy Rabbit's lighthouse. And when they arrive at the lighthouse, we can notice that Grandad Dog has a clean vest. He has nothing on it, right? But in the next scene, when Grandad Dog is giving Grampy Rabbit some items, we can notice that he has got mud stain on his shirt and face. Like, how's this even possible? The mud stain literally came out of nowhere. In the episode Princess Peppa, Granny and Grandpa Pig come for a dinner party with Mummy and Daddy Pig. Granny Pig decides to surprise Peppa and George by sneaking into their room. When she enters Peppa and George's room, we can notice that the moon can be seen through the left panel of the window. Moments later, Granny Pig accidentally steps onto a rubber duck and Peppa wakes up. And notice the moon again. This time, it is on the right panel of the window. But earlier, it was on the left panel. Now, this next mistake is absolutely hilarious. In the episode The Train Ride, Madame Gazelle takes Peppa and her friends on a train ride where they must check off what they see on their activity sheets. But at the train station, Pedro loses his ticket. Now look carefully at the ground. We can clearly see there's nothing there. But moments later, when Madame Gazelle arrives, Zoe Zebra points towards the ground, and there appears Pedro's train ticket. There's no way that ticket was originally there. Maybe Zoe Zebra had probably hidden the ticket, and when Pedro was looking at Madame Gazelle, she threw his ticket on the ground. In the episode The Baby Piggy, Peppa and George are visiting their big cousin Chloe, and we'll get to meet Chloe's new baby brother, Alexander, for the first time. Later in the episode, Peppa's friends also come to see baby Alexander. Right here we can see that Susie is standing behind Zoe Zebra. But when the scene zooms out, Susie Sheep magically appears in front of Zoe Zebra. In the episode Best Friend, Peppa Pig invites her best friend Susie Sheep over to play. We see them taking various toys out of a basket and scattering them on the floor. But when George wants to join the fun, Peppa doesn't allow him. Poor Georgie. Anyway, after this scene, we return to the same spot and notice that the little horn that was next to the green notebook on the floor has disappeared. Then we see it magically on the other side of the room. And that's not all. When the girls take the toys out of the basket, one of the first is a jack in the box, which even opens up when they take it out. However, after talking to George shortly after, we can see that the toy is no longer on the floor of the room. But unlike the horn, we don't see it again. Maybe the animators were a little lazy to clean up all that mess. In the episode The Fish Pond, Daddy Pig is looking forward to taking Peppa and George to visit a fish pond that he used to visit when he was a piglet. Notice that both Peppa and George have an ice cream cone in their hand. And while they are walking towards the pond, the ice cream is still in their hand. But when Daddy Pig is talking with Miss Rabbit, The scene zooms out. Now notice Peppa and George's hand. The ice cream cone has disappeared. I doubt they were able to finish that in one bite. This is definitely a mistake. Moving on, in the episode Kylie Kangaroo and her family go to Peppa's house for a visit. When they are at the house, the entire pig family comes outside to greet them. Now look carefully at the pig family. We can notice that Peppa and George are standing right in front of Daddy and Mummy Pig. But the issue is, when the scene zooms into Peppa, Mummy and Daddy Pig disappear from the frame. But earlier, we saw they were right behind Peppa and George. There's one more mistake in this episode, and it is even funnier. After Peppa and George meet Kylie Kangaroo and her brother Joey, Peppa shows Kylie how to jump up and down in muddy puddles. Now, look at the size of Muddy Puddle. It's quite small. But when other characters start to jump in the puddle, the size of it magically changes. We can clearly see the puddle changing its size out of nowhere. Going back to the Best Friend episode, we noticed some more mistakes that happened throughout the episode. When Susie and Peppa are near the toy basket right at the beginning of the episode, we can see that on the wall behind them, there are 2 dinosaur drawings. However, shortly after, when we see the 2 girls again, lying on the floor having fun, we see that the drawings on the wall are no longer there. A little later, when George comes down to eat the cookie dough, he hears Peppa and Susie having fun. Then we see the 2 again, but this time, we see that there is a drawing on the wall again. However, this time it's not the dinosaur drawings that were there before, but a drawing of an elephant and a sun. The funny thing is that this drawing appeared earlier in the series, but it was next to Peppa and George's bunk bed. It seems like the paintings have a mind of their own. Now, let's look at the funniest mistake of them all. In the episode, The Ambulance, when Dr. Bear is giving safety instructions and tells everyone to watch where they step, he trips over a bowl and rolls down the hill, falling into prickly plants. When this funny scene happens, we can notice that the ambulance back door is completely closed. But right after, we see Dr. Bear landing beside an apple tree. We see the kids and Madame Gazelle, but note that now the back door of the ambulance is open, but it wasn't before. Who opened that door since everyone was watching Dr. Bear fall down the hill? Immediately after, we see Madame Gazelle and the children getting into the ambulance to help Dr. Bear, who is completely injured. As we can see, Madame Gazelle enters through the driver's door, and the rest of the kids enter through the back doors. We see that at the back doors are Peppa Pig and Molly Mole on either side. The mistake is that when the ambulance arrives at the scene, we notice that Peppa is still there, but on the other side, and where Peppa was before, now stands Rebecca Rabbit, and Molly is nowhere to be seen. Besides that, Madame Gazelle, who should exit through the driver's door, ends up appearing on the other side of the ambulance without any explanation. So, these were some of the mistakes we found on Peppa Pig, and as always, we'll see you all in the next video.